All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, if you are doing this video, you have completed everything, and Miss Chesser or Miss Chesser Sub has told you that you are ready to do the Zentangle Extra Credit. In order to do the Zentangle Extra Credit, you need to grab one of the black Zentangle manuals, and you need to grab the one of the Zentangle art outlines. Now, you can also do this directly in your sketchbook on one of the creativity pages if you would like. It just means you don't have that outline to work with. But you can just fill, if you are somebody who doesn't really want to deal with the other outlines, you can just fill a page with Zentangles. So, as you can see from my example here in my sketchbook, Zentangles involves a lot of different pattern making, and it is done in pen. So you don't want to start in pencil. Part of the thing about Zentangles is that if you make a mistake, you kind of got to work with that mistake. So it is just a black and white image done in pen. So you need one of the Zentangle pens, which are in the container that should be right with the rest of the Zentangle stuff. So how this works. If you're doing it straight in your sketchbook, you can kind of see how I did it here. You create yourself some strings. Strings kind of break up your space so that you have different spaces to fill. That is why these outlines are kind of nice, because they've created your strings for you. They've created your spaces. Now, if you want, you could still break up some of these spaces and draw some lines in, but you don't have to. You can just work with the lines that you've already got. Now, in this Zentangle manual, you can kind of look through and you can see the way these patterns are created. So how you start, you can add more detail. There's all different sorts of patterns in here that you can kind of steal or borrow or make your own, or you could just start off on your own. And it kind of walks you through how to make it more complicated. So you don't want to end up here. This is not very Zentangle-y. It's going to leave you too much white space. So you want to kind of even out the amount of white space and gray space that you have. So you can also see some of the examples in here are really nice. They give you an idea of how you can make your Zentangle look. So we're doing something similar to this, where they had this image of the butterfly and then they just changed each one. So, getting started. Let's just randomly pick one of these at random. I'm going to pick this one right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start drawing that in. I'm not doing this in pencil first. If you want to practice on another sheet of paper first and figure out how to do each of these patterns, that's fine. But I don't want to see pencil marks on here. So you want to work within those lines. So once you hit a line, you stop. So then once I draw all of these, so this is going to take time. It's kind of calming. That's why they call them Zentangles, because you get very zen. So as I do that, and then the next step here is to add more on the inside. So maybe on some of these I add a little bit more. So that one's not perfect, but that's okay. I can start adding more. I can add that one and then 2 lines. This one I might only see that. Oh, maybe a little bit of that. And then I can go in and I can start shading some of these spaces. And it looks like this has little lines that go through like that. So you can choose to follow their patterns. Oops, I made a mistake. So I did something wrong here. So let's so see, even if you make a mistake, if you add too many lines, make it into your pattern. Make it part of that pattern. So maybe I make this a little darker so it looks like that was meant. I meant to do that. And then this one gets darker. You want to make sure if you're filling in any spaces that you completely fill them in so that they're nice and black and you don't see little white spots in them. So you just slowly work your way around, and then maybe in this space, instead of doing this, I want to do the chain link. So I start with, I think they start this way, so they kind of do it this. Maybe I do chain link. Oops, that's a little off. you just work your way one pattern at a time. Fill in those spaces. See how because I've got kind of a big space, I made kind of a big chain link pattern. And then it looks like your next line, they have them misaligned so that they kind of fill up even more of that space. So you can work in order, kind of like they do, or you can kind of just let it flow. And maybe this. Make sure your patterns, as you hit an edge, look like they continue. That's part of the Zentangle thing, is that you don't want it to go past that line, but you want to make it look like it could. Like if this line wasn't there, that pattern would continue. So you don't want to have yours kind of stop at the edge. So even up here, I might want to see just the bottom of the previous line. So then even with this, I might not like how much white space that is. So maybe I decide to go in and color in just those lines. And maybe I don't really like that, so I'll do that across that line. Maybe this line I'll color inside the box. Yeah, I like that better. So you can color, take your time. This is work that's not about working fast. It's about being detailed and looking nice. So you can work your way across and finish all of the space. You can even on any of these that have big background spaces, you can string your background space. So I could do I could string this background space, which means just drawing those kind of curvy lines, and then I can fill in those spaces with even more Zentangles and just fill the entire paper. Kind of like here. So see how I started with these boxes and then I stringed all the way to the edge. Okay, so this took me about 5 or 6 classes. So if you don't get finished, that's okay. You can always work on this between any other projects that we're doing for the rest of the year and just keep it someplace safe. So go get Zentangling.